Robert Downey Jr. said something that I think we need to talk about. Be sure to stick around to the very end of this video so you can take part in Shout Out Trivia. I recently heard something that Robert Downey Jr. said in an interview, and I think we need to talk about it because I had never heard it put quite like this before. Before we get into it, let me know in the comments below who is your favorite superhero. Now you might ask, why do you always talk about comments? Well, here's the deal. YouTube promotes videos with lots of likes and comments, so it's a huge thing. So make sure you are signed into your Google account so you can let me know in those comments below who is your favorite superhero. Now, you know Robert Downey Jr. as Marvel's Iron Man. He's also in other things, but you know him as Tony Stark. So Robert Downey Jr. said something in an interview recently that I thought was really great and really put words to something that I have thought for a long time. He was being asked about his time as Tony Stark or Iron Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU. And specifically, he was asked how the creative process worked around forging the identities of the characters and really the overall story. And he said that the process was long and tough, but it was very well worth it. And he encapsulated it all with this phrase: faster alone, further together. Faster alone, further together. Here's what he means. If you want to get something done, you can certainly get it done faster if you work alone.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
But if you want to do something big, if you want to do something worthwhile, something greater than yourself, you must bring people in and work together toward a united vision.
Avengers! Assemble.
Faster alone, further together. You see, teamwork is like compound interest. You don't see any return at the beginning. In fact, teamwork will be detrimental to your effectiveness at first. You have to drive home the vision with people. You have to train people and equip people to do what you're asking them to do. You're eventually going to have to start managing personalities as the team grows and all the stuff that comes along with that. But as time goes on, you will see hundredfold returns. People will not only be working alongside you, they'll be sharing that same vision with new people. They'll be equipping and training others. They'll be expanding the reach of the church, the business, the organization without your direct input. That is exponential growth. Jesus said that the kingdom of heaven uses the same exponential trajectory. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed planted in a field. It's the smallest of seeds, but it becomes the largest of garden plants. It grows into a tree, and birds come and make nests in its branches. Can a single believer do good things? For sure. Can a group of believers do even greater things? Yes, yes, yes. And what is a group of believers called? A church. How does a church make a large eternal difference? By starting slow, getting people on board, training them, equipping them, empowering them to fulfill the vision, and then giving them ownership to multiply. Then they'll start getting people on board and training them and equipping them and then empowering a whole new generation to fulfill the vision and giving them ownership to multiply. It's compound interest. It's a mustard seed growing into a mighty tree. So what does this mean for us? When you want to do something great, do not be afraid to take it slow in the beginning so that you can bring others along for a better future together. Let's start with parents. Parents, here's what you know. You know that you are much faster at tying a shoe than your child. You could probably tie a dozen shoes in the time that it takes your kiddo to tie just one. You are definitely faster alone. But that's not really the point, is it? Sure, there are circumstances where you need to tie a shoe really, really fast, but there are bigger things at stake. As a parent, you want your child to be able to tie a shoe on their own. So, what do? Well, you've probably never thought about it like this, but this is exactly what you do as a parent. You share the vision. You teach them why it's important to loop, swoosh, and pull on their own.
You loop it, you swoop it, and you pull.
You teach them to do it. You equip them with those skills. You want them to be independent shoe tiers, and you want them to multiply. You want your kids to teach your grandkids many, many years later how to tie their own shoes. That is further together. So when it comes to church or business or any other organization, the same principle applies. faster alone, further together. Take time to set yourself up for future success early on because it will pay dividends later. Compound interest starts slow, but then becomes exponential. Albert Einstein said it like this: compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. So let's do the most with our lives by going further together. Hey, I hope you were encouraged by this video. If you were, give it a like, share it, and subscribe so you can catch us when the next one drops on Tuesday. Before we end, a huge shout out to Brian Ratliff for getting last week's trivia question correct. King Solomon's dad was King David. Here's this week's question. We opened this video with a lot of Ironman talk. Iron Man 1's director was Jon Favreau. If you're a Marvel fan, you know him as the character Happy Hogan. More recently, he was the creator of a wildly successful non-Marvel show on Disney. What was the name of that show? Let me know in the comments below so that you can get a shout out in next week's video. See you next Tuesday. Grace and peace.